Shalom. So I've been seeing a lot of talk about the law, and it's starting with Moses. And from most training and most teaching, that is what most people believe. But in one of the texts, it shows in Genesis 26:5 that Abraham knew the law or the Torah or the instructions of Yahuwah. I see Maury Rick Marlin has a post saying that it actually was Noah that had the Torah first, or not first, but it was known of him in that day. That man spoke of clean and unclean animals. Where did he get that standard from other than from Yahuwah? You start reading a lot of the extra books outside of the 66 books, and you will see that after the flood, Noah trained up his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, in the instructions of Yahuwah. And as time went on, Shem actually taught Abraham, him and Noah taught Abraham the instructions of Yahuwah, or the law of Yahuwah. One of the things that we forget with the whole Moshe situation or Moses situation is that Israel had not been walking in their own, I guess, traditions and ways, because they were in the land of Egypt, the land of Mizraim. And they were actually, went from a free people that went there to be saved from the famine that was going forth in the land. And then they become bound. So they weren't living under the structure and under the guidance that was set forth through Abraham and his son, Isaac, through Isaac to Yaakov, which is Israel. They had basically went away from that. They were shepherds still, living in the land of Goshen, but they now were being treated as slaves and not as citizens of Yah. Yah was reconnecting with them. He used Moses to reconnect and have them come out and do something that they were not doing anymore, which is worshiping Yahuwah. He retold a lot of stuff to Moshe. If you go through all of the books that we call the Torah, the 5 books, you should probably even look into Jubilees, which also has some connection to Moshe. You see that he was given information that he didn't have privy or prior. And so he was sharing that information in his writings. And most of that information dealt with the people that I mentioned earlier: Abraham, Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth. They didn't write their own narrative. Moshe was the one giving it, someone who basically lived after them. If you look at the timeline, you'll see that Abraham was still alive a lot of the time. I think he was alive during the time of Moses, and I know Shem was, and even Shem's son Eber, who they get the Hebrew name or Ibrit comes from. He was still alive. So, that information, as far as the age, you can count that up. You can actually use the numbers and the ages and figure that out, that these people were still alive, but yet you don't have much information on it because it's mostly dealing with Israel, not dealing with all of the different lines and links to the family. Not even the patriarchy is dealing mostly with Israel. And Moses and the Levitical family and stuff were basically documented by Moses. So it's a lot of information that maybe is out there in writing, but it's not connected to the 66 books. All right, just want to share that. The law did not start with Moses, yet that's what many are teaching and many of them think. But you can see even in the 66 books, it exposes that that's not so. You see it in Noah when he talks about the clean and unclean animals, and you see it in Abraham, and it actually says right there in Genesis 26:5. All right, look it up. Shalom.